Hey y'all, thanks for stopping back by and checking out another video. Please subscribe to our channel if you get a chance while you're watching me yammer on. So here we are, it's the third week of September. Things are getting pretty chilly, especially in the mornings. Actually, it's beautiful out here right now. It's in the mid-high 60s, I think, today. And came out here this afternoon to putter about a little bit in the garden. I planted a few broccoli plants. Yeah, broccoli, red cabbage, and green cabbage. And the one thing that I did that was probably not so great for the plants, I don't know if they're going to survive to really do anything, but they sprouted several weeks ago, I think. I forget what date I planted them. It was off of my fall video or fall garden video that I posted a while ago. And I had planted these seeds and I sprouted them inside, and right after they sprouted, I brought them outside and put them on a table that was kind of in a mixed shade sun area, because your brassicas, cole crops, they have a couple different names, but stuff like cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower and that kind of stuff prefers the cooler weather. And at that time we had weather that was still up in the 90s or mid 90s, and so I put them in this kind of mottled shade area. But I left them in the pots too long. They basically got, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches high maybe, and then just kind of stopped growing and just kind of hung out. And I should have, probably within a week or so of them sprouting, to give them a good chance of establishing themselves before any frost came in. I should have brought them out and put them in a garden bed, but I didn't do that. So something to keep in mind. If you're planting a fall garden, especially with some of these things, like some of the brassicas that have like 60 or more days that they need to come to full harvest mode, you want to get them in the ground so they can establish and really start growing. I didn't do that, so I don't know what's going to happen with them. We're probably about 3 weeks out from our first frost, and I don't think they're going to have time to really take off between now and then, although it is supposed to get warmer over the next week or so and be, I think within a couple days, supposed to be back up around 80. Hi Alice. Got a couple of chickens at my feet. But I went ahead and I put them in one of the raised beds that I cleared out anyway, and put them in a box, and I put a little fence around them of hardware cloth, and then I covered them with some tulle, because we do have cabbage moths that are still flying about, and still have some wild rabbits out here that are getting up into my lower beds and eating some of my stuff. So I didn't want them to kill these off in the mild chance that they may survive long enough to produce something. Now last fall, now granted I planted them a lot earlier, but last year I did plant some cabbage in one of the low raised beds, and because we had such a mild winter, they survived over the whole winter, and I harvested, I guess it was actually only 2 heads of red cabbage. The chickens ate all the green cabbage before I could get to it, and then 2 of the red cabbage heads got killed off by cabbage worms, early in the summer. So I pulled those, but there was 2 that really came out good, and I made some really good coleslaw out of it. So anyway, the nights are getting colder. We put our first fire in the fireplace last night. Yesterday, Mitzi went out and harvested a bunch of herbs. I had dug up an area and created an herb garden for her early in the spring. She planted a bunch of plants, and they all did very well. And so she harvested a lot of those, and we have them hanging over the fireplace right now in big bunches to dry. She's got eucalyptus, rosemary, lemon verbena. I'm trying to think what else she had in there. She had some catnip, but we're not drying that. We gave that to the cats to play with. She also had some holy basil that was in there, some purple basil and lemongrass, and so there's other things that are still producing in there, but there were a lot of things that she had harvested off to dry to save to use for other uses later on this winter or fall. And so it's kind of cool to see all the bunches of stuff hanging over the fireplace, and the whole house yesterday just smelled like herbs and a wood fire. It was pretty sweet. So very relaxing. So now I came out here today, and like I said, you know, I planted some of those little seedlings that had popped up. But I also wanted to check out, I've got a couple of sunflowers that are really overdue from the harvesting period. Generally, if you're harvesting sunflowers, the first thing you want to look for is, you know, your sunflower is going to come up and get the nice, beautiful sunflower head on it, and then as all the seeds start forming in there, it's going to get heavy and it will start to bend over. So then, you know, stuff is really starting to produce. Then the next thing you want to look for is around the back of the sunflower head. It's going to start over time turning maybe some tan spots or brown spots. And then you can kind of scrape away some of the yellow. It's not really flowers, but it's the covering over the seeds. I'm not really, I should have probably researched this before filming this, but over the, you know, the sunflower is still going to be yellow, unless you're growing like an orange variety or something else, but it's still going to have its color, but the head will dip over and the back of it, the green part behind that, is going to start turning tan. And then if you scrape some of those little flower bits away, you can look in and see the seeds. And if you see them turning black or black and white striped, some of them will be white. It really depends on the variety that you're growing, because there are some white seed varieties of sunflowers. But you'll be able to see the seeds that have formed in there. And at that point, you know, if you're not just leaving it out for the birds, then you can harvest it at that point. You don't have to wait till everything turns all brown and dry, is what I'm saying. But I really only had one big sunflower that I grew this year, and it was actually a volunteer plant that popped up. And it's been out here a long time. And some of the seed heads on it, the birds have already had their feasts. I can see where some squirrels have gathered some bunches of them. Actually, up here on the deck railing behind me, came out one day, and there's this great big pile of sunflower seeds where a squirrel had just sat and he had gathered up a bunch and brought them up there, and it just had a full-on meal. But I have some heads that are still hanging there that I think will maybe have some seeds in there that I can save to either roast or feed to the chickens, or, you know, whatnot. In most previous years, even in years where I've grown, you know, full big 12, 15 foot rows of very large sunflowers, I generally just leave them out for the birds to come and just have something else to eat on for fall. You know, the cardinals love them, the blue jays, we've got finches, all kinds of stuff that will hop on there and chow down on some sunflower seeds. But this year I wanted to see if I could save a couple, even though I only had a couple of flowers. I did plant a couple areas of a wildflower mix that had sunflowers mixed in, but they are a much smaller variety, so I don't know if I'm going to get that much out of those. My main interest is checking out this big one that I had. Big one is relative. It's not like one of those mammoth ones. It was just some random variety that popped up from something I grew, you know, over the past few years. So let's go take a look and see what's going on with that. Show away, Alice. So you can see, maybe, it's kind of shady out here now because it's late afternoon, but how bent over this is. And the back sides of this are very brown and crispy. This is long past the point where normally you would harvest your sunflowers. I'm going to cut this larger head off and see what we got going on here. And already you can see where something has gotten in here and eaten a lot of the seeds out. But I think all up through here, we're going to have some seeds. So if you see here, all this stuff on top, if you film this, or if you harvest this earlier on, this is all going to be probably yellow or whatever color that your sunflower variety is. But you can rub all this away. Get all that junk out of there. Yeah, we got a lot of seeds in here. So, see here? This is all the sunflower seeds. So now we're going to go scrape some of these out because this is pretty dry. If you pick them earlier and harvest them earlier, you'll want to save more of the stem so that you can hang them up to dry out. And on the back here, you can see how brown this is, but this is what I was talking about with some of how the back of the sunflower will start to turn brown. And when you start getting brown spots, it's normally a good indicator that it's ready to harvest. This one, again, is much farther past a good harvesting stage, and it's more of drying on the stem, I guess you'd say, drying on the plant itself rather than cutting it earlier and hanging it up to dry out. But we got a lot of seeds in here. Let's go see how many we can get out of here. Okay, so I've picked a very bad time of day for lighting to do this outside. I'm trying to get some of this sunlight here. But, you know, in here, now we've got all these seeds. And you can kind of just tear this thing apart, and your seeds are going to start falling out. And just kind of rub your fingers across that front edge like that. And the seeds are just going to start pouring out. And get this out where you can see it a little better here. Work your hands all in there, and just as you rub across the seeds, especially when the flower head itself has dried out. And actually, I'm calling this a flower head, but it's not a true flower head. When you have the yellow parts all in here, each individual one would be actually the flower, really. Not this whole thing is basically a big mass of tiny flowers that all will then produce a seed. The ones around the edges come out fairly easily, but you see I still have this dark mark in the middle, and that's all seeds that are really packed in there. Those are a little bit harder to get out. I might have to break this open some more to get them out easier. And this, actually this center part, these seeds, while they are ready to be harvested, as in like they are fully dark, there's a lot more moisture there in this center section that I just broke open. There's more right in here. I can feel the moisture in them, so I'm going to need to dry these seeds out unless I take them straight in and for roasting. So that's the bulk of the seeds out of that one. And I've got, a lot of pieces of the sunflower itself in here that I'll need to kind of winnow out of here. But got a good fair amount of seeds out of that one head, and this was not even a very big head, really. As sunflowers go, this is a smaller variety, and this was actually the biggest head that's on there. But I've got a few more that are smaller that I can go out and get some of those as well, and have a nice little batch of sunflower seeds that we can roast up and salt or flavor, or just feed to the chickens, see how they like them. Okay, so that was a little demonstration on harvesting a sunflower once it's already been pretty much dried out all the way. Because I didn't get to them earlier in the late summer or early, well, I guess it really is still late summer. Well, actually today is fall solstice. Yeah, there we go. But you know, if I got into them like 2 or 3 weeks ago, that would have been a good time to harvest them, where I could cut them and then hang the heads up and give you that would have been a better demonstration than probably this. But it gives you the basic idea of what you can do with sunflowers. If you want to save some of the seeds, you can let them dry on the plant themselves before you harvest them. The problem is unless you've got some kind of protective covering over them, you're going to lose a lot. The birds, squirrels, even other animals might come out, like raccoons and stuff like that, knock the plant down, and then you know, take all your seeds. So for whatever reason, the birds weren't really on this one plant. I still have a couple other smaller heads that I can harvest off of there, and I think I'll be able to get a few more seeds. But for that one little head, I'm pretty happy with what came out, that we'll be able to use some of those. And this is really the first year that I really took the time to harvest my sunflower seeds, and so it's something that I want to do more of in the future, and grow larger batches of them like I have in the past, but actual ones that I can save. So anyway, hope you found that slightly interesting or helpful, and thanks for stopping by and hanging out today. Whatever is going on in your neck of the woods, at your gardens, at your homesteads, I hope that you are having a fantastic day and are getting lots of good harvests this year from your gardens and whatever it is that you're doing. I hope it's all coming out well. Anyway, thanks again for stopping by. Please subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you again soon. And yeah, that's it. Namaste. Alice, you want some sunflower seeds? You want to try them out?